Welcome back. In this video, we are going to design a card view, which will pretty much be our list elements. And it will look a lot better because we're using a third-party library here. And in order to use it, we need to implement it. So let's go to our build Gradle. And then here, we're going to need another implementation line. So I'm using this one here, DE H Dodenhof, and then circular image view 3.0.1. And it's this GitHub here, and that's basically what we want. So we want to have an image which is circular. So instead of a square image, I would like to have a little circle. And if you want to achieve that, then it very often just makes sense to use external resources, as this one is one. All right, so circular image view is the class that we then can use. And of course, there are some limitations, but still good enough for our purposes. All right, so once we added that, we need to sync it. Never forget that, because otherwise it won't appear. So it's not gonna show you when you need it. And then I'm going to create a new layout. So let's go ahead and create a new layout resource file. I'm going to call this one item_happy_place. And it's going to be a constraint layout, inside of which I want to define everything. So let me quickly see. Okay, we have the width here, which is match parent, and the height. I'm gonna set the height to wrap content. So it should only take as much height as it really requires. All right. Then the next thing I want to have in here is, of course, the card view. So let's go ahead and use card view, which is this new widget. Which is an Android X widget. All right, and then the width should be match parent. So take as much space as you need, and then the height should be wrap content. So only as much space as you need. Well, this one was the whole width that is available. Okay, so that is going to be our card view. Now, of course, we need to give it some more properties here. For example, we can set the margin start. So a little margin towards the left. So layout margin start. And I'm going to define this dimension. And by the way, let's define all dimensions real quick that we're going to need. So go to the dimensions file. And here, I'm just going to add all of them. So you can see item happy place, CV, main margin start, end, 8 density 2 pixels, corner radius 3, elevation 3, and so forth. So here are all of the dimensions. You can either type them or you can copy them from the dimensions file. While we are at it, let's also add the colors. So here, colors XML. I'm going to need 2 more colors, which is going to be 2 gray colors. All right. And it's these 2. So circular image border color and item happy place description text color. And then I will need 2 new strings. So let's go there as well. And the new text will be image content description, will just be the image. All right. So these are the 3 things that we needed to add: dimensions, colors, and strings. Now we can go back to our item happy place, because here we were defining the dimensions. And here the margin, for example, that I wanted to set. And I'm going to set that to margin start end. So item happy place CV main margin start end, as well as the margin end will be the same. So margin start end. As the background, I'm going to use white. So here background will be white. The corner radius, so the card corner radius will be item, or corner radius, item happy place CV corner radius. Then the card use compact padding will be set to true. So this will add a little padding to the card. And of course, we're still missing the constraints here. So this one, constraint bottom to bottom of, will be parent, as well as the end to end of will be parent, start to start off will be parent, and then finally top to top off. So this is going to be our card, and you can see it here. It really isn't that visible because it doesn't have any content, and we said that it should wrap its content. So inside of it, I want to have a linear layout where things are next to each other, so where the orientation is horizontal. So let's create a linear layout here, and the width should be match parent, the height should be wrap content, and then inside of this linear layout, I want to also set some more settings. So as I said, the orientation should be horizontal, the gravity should be centered vertically, and then I want to have some padding, and I'm going to use item happy place content padding. All right, so inside of this linear layout, that's where I want to have the image. So first I want to have the image, then I want to have the title and the description. Okay, and they should be on top of each other. So we are going to require another linear layout in there. But first of all, let's start with our circle image view. And that's the one that we imported from DE H Dodenhof. All right, so the width should be something like 70 density pixels, but that's something that we have defined in our dimensions. So it's this image size here. So I want to have it for the width, item happy place circular image size, and for the height it's going to be the same. Then the content description will be that it's going to be an image. The source is going to be that it's going to be a MIPMAP IC launcher round. And then finally we set the CIF border color, so the circular image view border color, as being circular image border color, so the color that we defined here, which is this gray color. All right, so this is our card view here, and of course we can close that, and it needs an ID so that we can change it. And I'm going to call this one IV place image. Okay, so that is already it. This is our circular image view. If we look at it, so this is going to be the image view. Currently it's not circular, but this is our icon that we're using, by the way, which is this IC launcher round. So currently I'm using this MIPMAP, and later on we will of course replace this with our own images. And as I said, next to this image view, I want to have two texts which are on top of each other. So we are going to require another linear layout here. So in this case, we have a little margin towards the left and right, and the orientation will be vertical. So the text views will be on top of each other. And he is complaining that tools doesn't exist. So I'm gonna add the namespace declaration. So this text view will be text view title, and the other one will be text view description. All right, so now let's look at it. And this is what we get. So let me close this a little bit here. There we are. So we have this image, which will be circular later on. Then we have the name and the description. And you can see how they are created here. All right, next we can use a happy place adapter. So we're going to create a new adapter, and we've done that multiple times already. So I think it makes sense that I just go over it. So let's create a new package here, and I'm going to call this one adapters. And we might add more adapters later on, of course, and not in this project, but generally speaking, you could later on have more adapters. And in our case, we're just going to have this one adapter. So I'm just going to paste the whole KT file, so this Kotlin file in here, and let's quickly talk about this adapter. So what is this adapter doing? So what we have is our adapter, which requires this happy place model. So let's import that. And then of course you need to get rid of the imports of or that were there before. All right, so then this is an open class that we can inherit, and as you can see, it inherits from the RecyclerView adapter class. So we have this RecyclerView view holder, of course, which is our own view holder that we create down there. So private class my view holder, which is inheriting from RecyclerView and which just requires this view. Then, as always with adapters, you have some override functions, such as the get item count, where you get the list of items that are inside of your adapter, so inside of the RecyclerView. Then onBind view holder, that's what is called each time that you bind a view, so each time that it is constructed. And you can see that we have our model, which is the list at a position. So the list, what is this list? Well, it's this list that we pass into our happy place adapter each time we create a happy place adapter. And of course, we're only going to create it once, but still, we need to pass in the context and we need to pass in the array list of happy places. And guess what? In our main activity, we have a function which just does that, which gives us the array list of happy place models. All right, so this is going to be the list that we then use. Then we just say, okay, the model that we're currently looking at, which is of type happy place model. And then we see if the holder is of type my view holder, then please go ahead and set the image URI as the IV place image. Then set the title from that model and set the description. Now, when it comes to this image, we are getting it from the URI, and the URI is what we get from our model image. As you might recall, we used to store it as a URI in our database, so the link where the image is. So we just say, okay, in this case, don't set the image based on a bitmap, but base it on a URI, so on the image that is stored inside of the phone. All right, so that is our view holder, and then we have this onCreateViewHolder, where we just return our my view holder, where we use the layout inflator from context and we inflate R. So now R doesn't exist here, so we need to import R, and R is our resources folder. So we're just saying, okay, we want to have from the resources folder the layout, and we use the item happy place layout, which we just created. So it's this XML file, which is just going to be this whole card here that we're using, this card view. All right. And then that is what's going to happen each time that is created. So here we're just saying, okay, this is how it's supposed to look. All right. And then that's it. So that's our happy place adapters. As you see, it's always the same structure. So you pass in the context, then you have a list that you need to pass in, and you inherit from this class called RecyclerView adapter. And then you need to have a RecyclerView view holder here, and we are creating our own view holder, which we call my view holder, and which inherits from RecyclerView. Then you have these three methods: get item count, get the onBind view holder. By the way, this list is of course the list that is passed to this class. In the onBind view holder, you say which items you want to display and what kind of information you get from there. And then of course, in the onCreateViewHolder, you define the layout that you want to use. And inside of this layout, of course, we have those things such as our text and title and description. So TV title and description, and of course our image. All right, and now of course in our main activity, that's where this RecyclerView and this whole adapter should be displayed. So let's go there. Inside of the activities, main activity, let's create a new function here, which is going to be private function setup happy places RecyclerView. And here we need to have the happy places, which is going to be an array list of happy place model. So happy place list, array list of happy place model. All right, so then we need the curly brackets, of course. And what should happen in this function? Well, we want to set up our RV underscore happy place list. So what is that? Well, it's inside our activity main. It's this recycler view which we prepared in the last video. Okay, so we're going to use that one, and we're going to assign the adapter that we just prepared to this recycler view so that they are connected with each other and they know what to do. So here, first of all, we say which layout manager we want to have, and I'm going to use the linear layout manager, and it needs the context, which will be this class, so our main activity. And then we need to define our adapter. So val places adapter will be a happy place adapter. So happy places adapter. With this as the context, and the list that I want to assign here is going to be our happy place list. So the one that is passed to this method here. And then we can set that to the adapter of our RV happy places list. So RV happy places list adapter should be the places adapter. Now this by itself will already work, but what I want to do is I want to add another line here to my happy places list, and I want to fix its size here. So set has fixed size to true. All right, and now of course we need to call this method at one point. And what would be a good point? Well, inside of our get happy places from local DB. So here where we check currently if the size is greater than 0, and where we have this for loop. So instead of having this for loop, what I'm just going to do in here, I'm just going to say RV happy places list visibility should be set to view dot visible. So now we are making our recycler view visible, but at the same time we should make our text view, which says no records available, invisible. So there, visibility view dot gone. So not just invisible, but actually gone, so that it doesn't impact our UI. All right, and then of course we need to call this set up happy place recycler view. And where do we get the list from? Well, it's this get happy place list. All right. So what shall happen if our get happy place list is empty? Well, in order to make sure that it's going to be working even after we had a list that had entries and then we don't have any entries anymore, we need to reverse the whole thing. Okay, so make the RV list invisible and make the text here, the text view, visible. Even though for now this will not be required, but then if we have the feature where we can delete entries, at that point this will be relevant. And now if we hit the test button or the run button, we can see that this is the screen that we get. All right, and there we are. So you can see our happy places are there and they are beautifully in these cards. So you can see these are the cards. They have a little shadow that they create and they have these circular images. Okay, cool. So that is it for now. And of course, there's still a lot to do. Later on, we will also add the feature to swipe to delete or swipe to edit and a lot more. So see you in the next one.